So remember this, right? So we're going to Isaiah chapter 44. Okay. So remember this. This is the Lord of hosts speaking as God. He says, the Lord of hosts, the Lord, 2/3 going to be cut off. My, I. So this is God. Okay. This is God talking. Now watch this. Go to Isaiah and put those two together. Something very interesting pops up. So who's talking here? All right. And starting in verse 1, I'm choosing Jacob and all. Thus says the Lord who made you and formed you. I will pour out, I will do this, my that. I am the Lord. Okay, so who's talking? God is talking. Get to verse 6. Thus says the Lord. The Lord? Yeah, Jehovah, the King of Israel. So look at this, folks. Thus says the Lord. The Lord is the King of Israel. And his, who? The Lord's Redeemer. You mean God has a Redeemer? Yes. Well, who is God's Redeemer? The Lord of hosts. I thought in Zechariah, the Lord of hosts is God. He is. So, is there two gods? Of course not. Besides me, there is no God. I don't have time because it's a study in and of itself. But this right here is the man. The Lord of hosts has a companion, an equal, the man. Anyhow, all right. So we see that the Jews were denying the deity of Christ over in John chapter 5. Now, I think I have it up here on the board. Yes, I do. All right. So what else we see? They denied the deity of Christ. So I took you to John chapter 5 to show you that they did. Here's the second witness. This is coming out of John chapter 10. Then the Jews took up stones. Why? Give you some context. Let's go to 10. What was going on? Jesus now started talking about this shepherd. Remember what Zechariah said? My shepherd. Isaiah said the same thing. My shepherd. Who is he talking about? But he who enters by the door is who? The shepherd. They're going to hear his voice, right? Jesus said to them, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. He says he's the door. The door is simply of the tent of meetings. The door the priest entered in. The people couldn't enter in. So what was Jesus saying? If I let them in, they can come in to the cross, the burnt altar. I am the good shepherd. Jesus called himself good. In one of the earlier chapters, he says there was in Luke, there was no one good but God. So what is he calling himself? He's calling himself God again, friends. And the shepherd that God talked about in Isaiah, same shepherd that God talked about in Jeremiah, same shepherd that God talked about in Zechariah and all the other prophets that mention shepherd. The good shepherd does something. He's a redeemer. How is the good shepherd a redeemer? He gives his life for the sheep. That's it. So the shepherd that God talked about in Zechariah, the man, the Lord of hosts, what is he doing? He's given his life for the sheep, making him what? The redeemer. So he's only given his life for everybody? No, Jesus is only giving his life for the sheep. Jesus didn't die for the sins of every person. How do I know that? Because he just told you that. Is everyone a sheep? Of course not. No. Well, who's going to be redeemed? Only the sheep. The sheep hear his voice. Now, watch this. He goes on. He says, I know my sheep, and the sheep knows me, right? And known of mine. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father. I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have. Now, Jesus is talking 2,000 years ago, but he says, I have them already, which are not of this fold, which is Israel. Them I must bring. Do you get a choice? No, you don't get a choice. He have to bring them. And they will hear my voice. Do the sheep get a choice? No, they will hear. So nobody gets a choice here, friends. Jesus do not get a choice whether to go to the cross or not. Jesus do not get a choice whether to bring all the sheep back to God. The sheep don't get a choice to hear God's voice or not. They will hear. It's the same thing he said over in chapter 6. They will hear. They don't get a choice, friends. And there will be one flock, that is, all believers together, and one shepherd with Jesus. Therefore do my Father love me. Why? Because I lay down my life. I'm his redeemer. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down. I have power to, listen, I have power to lay it down and to take it up. He's claiming to be God again. Okay. They say he is a demon, so that's blasphemy again. And look, now the Feast of Dedication comes up, and they're out on Solomon's porch. And he says, look, tell us if you are the Christ or not. So he says, hey, look, there's a reason why you and others will not believe. Jesus answered, I told you, and you, everybody know these Jews that he's talking about, the priests, these particular priests and Jews that he's talking to, the leaders, you do not believe. Question is why? The works that I do in my Father's name, they are a witness that I am the one. But you, again, do not believe. So that's the second time he said that to them. Now he's going to explain to you why people do not believe. Why don't they believe Jesus? Because you, these priests, these people right here, are not my sheep. Pretty simple, isn't it? Why don't people believe? Because they're not his sheep. Who did Jesus die for? According to Jesus' own word, he died for his sheep. If they had an opportunity to believe, they would have been his sheep. And they could have believed. Why? Because the Bible said in the verses just above this, is that the sheep will hear. And Jesus must bring them. So were these people ever going to be saved? Of course not. He said, that's horrible. No, it's not. No, it's not. Listen, the sheep should die too. Should the sheep be saved? Of course not. They didn't deserve to be saved. The fact that God saved them shows that he's merciful, friends. He gave one mercy and he gave one justice. Who determined it? They were both guilty. Both groups are guilty and deserve death. God determined that I'm going to show one mercy, and I will show the other wrath, which they deserve.